across Israel, but around the world as well. And we've made very clear our absolute condemnation of these attacks. And we've also welcomed the repeated intentions from the authorities to try and bring those responsible to justice, and we look forward to that happening.
And is the UK government adopting a position regarding the Palestinian agreement between Fatah and Hamas in the time where there as a sort of concessions in Europe, whereas the United States they still disagree? The European community is just quiet about this. What do you think in the UK government?
Well, I think the first thing to say is that it's a great pity that the enormous efforts of Secretary John Kerry in particular to try to make progress towards a peace deal have resulted in so little progress. And we're trying very hard not to engage in a blame game, not to try and apportion blame X% to one side or Y% to another side. The truth is that both sides took decisions which moved us further away from peace and made it more difficult. Now, in terms of a reconciliation, in principle, obviously it is a good thing that the Palestinian side should be united rather than divided. The question is on what terms. And I think we have been clear, and Europe has consistently been clear, that the terms need to be those set out by President Abbas, namely the renunciation of violence, the recognition of Israel, and the respect for previous agreements. And we will be judging any government that comes to power as a result of a reconciliation by those standards.
Surely you are aware of the closed-door comment of the Secretary of State John Kerry when he described Israel as an apartheid state. I would like to know your point of view regarding his say, and does the UK how does the UK view it?
I think John Kerry issued his own statement after he made, or after it was reported that he made that comment. I don't think it would be particularly helpful for me to give a commentary on his commentary.
But he described something that will be maybe in Israel if the peace process will collapse. What they think now will happen?
Well, look, I think we have said, I've said very clearly that if there is no progress towards peace, then it causes concerns for people who regard themselves as strong friends of Israel, as Britain does. We worry about what it will mean, not just in the coming weeks and months, but in the coming years for Israel if there's no progress towards peace.
So you are worried about Israel becoming an apartheid state?
That's absolutely not what I've just said. What I've said is I'm worried about what the future will hold for Israel. I mean, I've said publicly I said it in a Channel 2 interview, that I worry that if there is no progress towards peace, Israel will lose altitude internationally. I worry that Israel's support internationally is declining. I see it happening in Europe. And the best thing for Israel, the best thing for Israel's friends, will be progress towards peace.
What about sponsoring the project in the Palestinian Authority? We were in Brussels before 5 months, and they said we pay for the Palestinian Authority every year 300 million, I think that's in dollars, if you even euro. And did you think that also the UK government will ask why we تعال قولي له إنه نواصل دعم المؤسسات الفلسطينية في حال فشلت المفاوضات يعني.
We will continue sponsoring the Palestinian Authority.
It's a good question, and look, it's a question which is often asked. We've just had the International Development Committee of the House of Commons, our Parliament here, in recent months, looking at our aid and development programme to the Palestinian Authority. But we do believe that what we're doing, and we spend tens of millions of pounds every year, is extremely worthwhile. Firstly, we are helping the Palestinian Authority develop the capability to to govern effectively, so that it can be a Palestinian state when negotiations get to a point where that can happen. Secondly, we are supporting the development of the Palestinian security forces, which is important if you want Israel to have confidence that it can step back and allow the Palestinian security forces to step forward. And thirdly, we're supporting the development of the Palestinian economy. And again, if the Palestinian state is to be viable, then I think this sort of work is a very necessary investment, and we are pleased to be making it.
Locally speaking, as